Friend or foe? Carbon amid the fauna environment. Carbon, one of the most plentiful elements in the universe, was identified long ago before written history began. The sun, the stars, the comets, and the atmosphere at most planets all contained it. Nearly 10 million carbon compounds have been found, and thousands of them are used by all known forms of life as building blocks like fauna. What is fauna? When we talk about fauna of a certain area, historical period, or both, we're talking about every single species that lives here. The term fauna is used to describe all the animals like species that can be found in each area. Even though the phrase was historically important in science, it is no longer used. Instead, taxonomy and cladistics, which are more descriptive, are used to show how organisms are related to each other.
Biogeochemical refers to the study of the interactions between living organisms and the geochemical processes that occur in the environment. It examines how organisms influence and are influenced by the chemical and physical processes that occur in the air, water, and soil. This can include topics such as nutrient cycling, carbon sequestration, and pollution. It is an interdisciplinary field that draws at concepts from biology, chemistry, and geology. Biogeochemical cycles are the movement of chemical elements and compounds through living organisms and the non-living environment. These include cycles such as the carbon cycle, water cycle, nitrogen cycle, and phosphorus cycle. These cycles are essential to the functioning of ecosystems and the survival of life on Earth.
Anthropogenic effects was firstly recognized by Zeus in 1954. He observed that there was a 2% decrease in atmospheric 14C starting in the early 18th century. Its decrease happened due to the start of the Industrial Revolution. When humans began to burn large amounts of fossil fuels, the atmospheric inventory of 14C became diluted. Fossil fuels are typically millions of years old, and any radiocarbon found in them has long since decayed. The use of fossil fuels resulted in a gradual decrease in 14C over time. The drop in radiocarbon has resulted in a 14C age plateau, making it impossible to distinguish radiocarbon ages between the 18th and 20th century.
And now, we will discuss what is anthropogenic effects. The anthropogenic effects are the consequences of human activity on the environment. They can be both negative and positive, but they are most often negative. Human beings have always had an impact on their surroundings, but today, that impact is more significant than ever due to the large population and technological development. The anthropogenic effects can be divided into two categories, and these are the direct and indirect effects. The direct effects are the consequences of human activity that can be observed immediately and directly. For example, when a factory pollutes a river with its waste, the water becomes dirty and unsuitable for swimming. This is a direct effect of human activity on the environment. And for the indirect effects, it is the consequences of human activity that are not immediately observable but can have long-term consequences. For example, cutting down trees can lead to soil erosion and eventually to desertification. This is an indirect effect of human activity on the environment. The anthropogenic effects have a negative impact on the environment and human beings. They are the leading cause of climate change and global warming and are responsible for water and air pollution, loss of biodiversity, and deforestation. The anthropogenic effects are the global problem and can only be stopped if we all work together to reduce our environment
from another region of the world that are not indigenous to the environment they are thriving in. They can be introduced to an area by ship ballast water, accidental release, and most often by us people. Invasive species are capable of causing the extinction of native plants and animals, thus reducing biodiversity, increasing the competition within the native organisms for limited resources, and altering habitats. This can result in huge economic impacts and the fundamental disruptions in various ecosystems. But not all non-native species are invasive. To be invasive, a species must adapt to the new area easily. It must reproduce quickly, it must harm property, the economy, or the native plants and animals of the region. In the context of the carbon cycle, invasive plants can interact differently with local insects and microbes in the soil, thus releasing more carbon dioxide into the atmosphere than native plants.
Key areas in biogeochemistry include nutrient cycle, soil formation, climate change, carbon cycle, biogeochemical cycle, bioremediation, and climate biosphere. Overall, biogeochemical is a crucial field of study for understanding how living organisms interact with Earth systems and how human activities are impacting the planet. It is important for understanding and addressing issues such as climate change, pollution, and conservation of natural resources.
Epigenetics is the study of how person's behavior and environment can impact the function of their genes. In contrast to genetic alterations, epigenetic changes are reversible and do not alter the DNA sequence, but they can alter how the body interprets the DNA sequence. Epigenetics happen everywhere. What your dogs eat, where they live, who they interact with, when they sleep, and how they exercise are all things that can change the chemicals in their bodies, which can turn genes on or off. The environment and how a dog acts can affect epigenetic changes, which can change how a dog's genes work.
Carbon is both a friend and foe. Besides being the most abundant element, it is the main component of sustaining life on Earth. The formation of protein and DNA are some of the beneficial effects of carbon on all living organisms. Furthermore, as carbon is referred to as the key to life, the human body consists of a generous amount of carbon, making up 18% by mass. In addition, carbon becomes more dominant when combined with oxygen. Carbon dioxide is recognized as essential gas in regulating Earth's temperature. However, advantages always have consequences. As carbon in the atmosphere can boost plants' production, it can also make the ocean more acidic, leaving a threat to marine organisms. Carbon dioxide has become detrimental to all living things as a primary greenhouse gas that aggravates climate change, apart from the impact of different human activities that contribute and influence climate change.
Although humans are not regarded as an invasive species, we are quite like these invaders since we are the ones responsible for the catastrophic changes that have inescapable ramifications. As a large portion of resources, requirements, and necessities come from these ecosystems, they must exist. As a result, we must restore, recover, and guarantee that they are properly maintained. We must take care of our environment rather than destroy it if we are to have a better future.